Today's Wellness Wednesdays with Laura is taking a slightly different format. Ladies, if you have a husband, father, son, or brother, then you're going to want to listen in. And if there are any men seeing this, then you definitely don't want to miss this episode. My name is 𝗪𝗂𝗍𝗏, and I help women to regain their health, wellness, and energy so that they can thrive and not simply survive. Just like there are times of the year when we focus on women's health, November is typically the month where many men grow a moustache during Movember to raise awareness of men's health issues. Things such as prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and also men's suicide. And this is the last Wednesday of November, and I thought I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this topic. So you'll see that I have a guest with me today, and we're going to be doing things differently. I know, ladies, my audience is mostly comprised of women, and you might be wondering why on earth am I discussing this topic and what does it have to do with you? Well, the answer is that it actually has more to do with you than you may realize. Women are most often the key drivers in a family in terms of health and wellness. And you'll know I often share that they are the ones putting things in the trolley, packing the lunch boxes, making the meals, and even making appointments to take people to the doctor. And as my friend Jeff will tell you in a minute, very often the ones that are actually sitting in the support group when men are diagnosed with cancer. So ladies, we play an incredibly important role in our families. Allow me to introduce my friend and business associate, Jeff Cullis. I met Jeff in August when I partnered with an international company that offers a disruptive technology to grow businesses after I realized the potential it had for my own business. I am admittedly an entrepreneur of note. And so it was right about this time that Jeff was actually in the thick of his own battle. And he's going to share a little bit about that with you. But what really stood out to me about Jeff was not only his willingness to share what he was going through at the time, but more than that, it was how he's using his own story as an opportunity to create awareness and to help others. So when I contacted Jeff to ask him if he'd be willing to hop on this chat with me, he agreed within moments of me sharing it. And so I've asked Jeff to share a little bit about his story with us. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to share this message that I know is on your heart and to tell us a little bit about your story.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity. Like you said, when you contacted me, I thought immediately we look for forums like this actually to share this information with people, as far and wide as possibly can. So as you said, my name is Jeff Cullis. I'm a businessman. I'm 57 years old. Healthy person. I eat healthy. I run, I cycle, I gym, and I'm not overweight. I don't smoke. I have an occasional drink. So I live a relatively healthy life. I'd say the one thing that's probably negative in my life is a lot of stress. I live a very stressful life business-wise. But that's the way things are nowadays, I guess, in business. So, like I say, thank you for the opportunity, first of all. And I must just mention maybe a disclaimer. I'm in no way a medical practitioner. Obviously, what I'm sharing with you now is my personal experience. And I've done extensive research, albeit in a very short time. You obviously would consult with your doctors, or your husbands would, or brothers, fathers, and basically we take it that way. But I just want to share my story, and I think I've done enough research to actually add value to many people's lives, and I have already in many ways. So as you say, mostly the audience now is ladies on the call, but ladies are at the forefront of everything in life, basically. My wife played a pivotal role in my recovery and the whole process I went through, including getting me into the doctor's rooms. So really what I want to share with you now is about prostate cancer, okay? Now, a lot of people they've heard the word, it's just something that happens to some people, but they don't really know and understand what it's about. So in a nutshell, I'm going to just briefly tell you what it's about and then a little bit about my story. But why I say for women are the ones that actually, women have husbands, have sons, brothers, business associates, and they talk and engage far more than men. Men tend to find this problem and bottle it up. I found out after the fact that some of people I know closely had prostate cancer and had never shared it with any of us. And only when it came out, they said, oh, but I also had it like 10 years ago. It's like, wow, well, why don't you tell us? It's like something they don't speak about. It's just dealt with and bottled up and never brought out. In my particular case, with the day I woke up post my operation, my eyes opened up and I thought, I need to tell everyone that I meet. And invariably I do. I try and make a conversation. I turn my conversations to prostate cancer. If people ask me, how am I? I'll make sure I mention what happened. And not to try and tell them a story, really to try and make them aware that they can actually take this message to either their husbands, or if I'm talking to men, that they can have it tested. Because many people don't know what's going on. So the three core things that we really try and teach people, when I say we, because I got involved with the Prostate Cancer Foundation immediately afterwards, is awareness, education, and early detection. With those three pivotal pillars, you can call it, a lot of this can actually be sorted out. So with awareness, we talk about the prevalence. We talk about prevalence, and the prevalence is very high. It's basically 1 out of 6 currently. 1 out of 6 men will get prostate cancer sometime in their life. It's actually crazy. I didn't know that. Very high statistics. And then another thing about awareness is like, what is prostate cancer? You know, what causes it? Where is it situated in the body? Things like that. People don't know. What is PSA? When people tell you to have your PSA tested, so a man needs to be screened and have his PSA tested. It's non-invasive. It's a blood test, guys. It's a blood test. It's easy. It's quick. Relatively cheap. And this is a fundamental check that you need to do to see where you score. On the education side is about, we teach people what's the prostate. You know, I've spoken to guys 50, 60, 70 years old, and we talk about prostate. They don't even know where the prostate is situated. They don't know the function of the prostate, where it is, and they're completely confused. It's something that men just block out. Men's health is a blur in their eyes for some reason. And the screening, how do they go about screening? It's very important. And then the options. What are the options to somebody that has now been diagnosed with prostate cancer? Okay, there are various options. In fact, there's quite a number of options, and that is now where there's multiple. There's no one size fits all here, and this is where you would discuss it with your spouse, yourself. You actually really reflect and say, what do I want to do? And then with a medical practitioner who will actually advise you. And these, things such as your age, the options you would choose are based on your age, your current health, your financial situation, because some of it is prohibitively expensive to actually engage in. So that's the options that you can consider, and I'll touch on that in a minute. And the third one, early detection. In South Africa currently, we are one of the countries in the world that actually recommend prostate screening at the youngest age in the world, in the absolute world. It's almost gazetted. So and another thing which is strange is prostate cancer is one of these diseases, and I think there are a couple that actually discriminate. There's discrimination with this disease. It's much more prevalent, 25% more prevalent in black males than in white males for some unknown reason. And in particular, Afro-Americans, they are Jamaicans are the most susceptible to actually get prostate cancer, strangely enough. So in South Africa, they recommend at age 40 years old, black males should be tested, and at age 45 upwards, white males should be screened. Okay, it's a simple screening. The basic screening, the very first protocol is when you go for your annual checkup, which everyone should be doing, is what they call a DRE, which is your digital rectal exam, where the doctor physically, and guys are so petrified about this, and actually it's nothing, to be honest, where the doctor physically feels your prostate via the rectum. And that's normally done by a physician. Once a year, he does that with your ECGs and your normal medicals. And if they pick up, in my case, I can tell you nothing was picked up. So that's not the foolproof way, but it's certainly a way to check for enlarged prostate. The second test would be then your PSA test, which is a blood test. Also not the end all and be all, but those two screenings will filter out 95% of any problems. Okay. So there are various degrees of prostate cancer as well. You must understand there's various degrees. It's not, and certainly, when I first got prostate cancer, and I mentioned this to some people, I told them, and before I even done my research, I just got this news. And the sort of rhetoric was, oh, well, that's not too bad. That's, if you're going to get cancer, that's the one you want to get. it's probably the worst thing to ever say to anybody. Please never, ever say that. People are dying every single day from prostate cancer. It's causing suicides. It's causing anxiety. It's causing depression. It's a hell of it's a scourge. Okay, prostate cancer. Now there are various varying degrees, so it's not a death sentence. But basically, if you get prostate cancer, or a man gets prostate cancer, and it's detected early and it is contained within the prostate, then there is light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. If it is not detected early, because they're not doing tests on a regular basis, and by the time they find out the prostate cancer has left the prostate and moved into the body, what they call metastasized. Terrible word, but that's the word they use when the prostate cancer leaves the prostate. Actually, funny enough, it finds its way into your bones, it finds its way to your brain, into your lungs, into your thighs, into the rectum, into the bladder. Then there's almost nothing they can do. You can't remove someone's bladder. You can't remove someone's rectum. You can't remove someone's brain. The only thing they can do then is manage it. And it's actually then becomes a life expectancy process as opposed to a cure or a sort of, a survivor. So if I could just quickly touch on, I know we've got a limited time. I could ramble on here, all day here, basically about the prostate cancer. But my story, just to tell you what happened. So basically, my story is relevant and it's current. It happened literally. I injured my neck in about March this year, 2021. And it's an ongoing injury from gym. And just niggly. And my wife said to me, once again, I was just putting up with it and dealing with it. And, that's the way men deal with it. They just carry on. And she said, you need to go see your doctor. When last have you been? I said, well, I went, 2 years ago. In fact, I realized I skipped a year. Never skip a year of your physician's checkup. Please never skip a year. And another thing is when the doctor gives you the form for blood test, don't put it down in the study, in your suitcase. Go for the blood tests. My mistake. So I had this injury, and she eventually insisted, Jeff, you better go and see your physician because you skipped last year now and you overdue. Okay, I kind of reluctantly succumbed to the pressure, and I went in and I had my test. And I ran on the treadmill, and he did all the tests from tip to toe, checked my neck out, and said it was just a muscular thing, slow recovery, but you'll be fine. And he said, and while you're at it, let's do your bloods. And he took out his pad and he writes down he ticks off the bloods that you normally do. Women do it as well, but obviously there's certain ticks for men. Now one of the gripes I have with doctors and with this blood test is that they take out this pad, and while they're having a little chat with you, they're ticking off a few little blocks, and they give it to you, they fold it up, and they say, go have a blood test. No one follows up with you, although it's your responsibility, to see, have you done it? They don't make the appointment for you. So invariably that form gets taken very often, and this gets put down, and one day I'll do it, and it gets skipped. If only they would just do a digital form and send it directly to the pathologist, that the appointment is made compulsory for you. Now you have to go. Secondly, they don't tell you what they're ticking off, and it's all Greek to most people. It's a funny code and a number, and it's a funny medical expression. They don't explain to you what that means. So, your cholesterol tests, and they check your cholesterol, sugar, and various other tests. They check your kidneys. And of course, one of them is a PSA test. Now, I am embarrassed to tell you that I did not know what PSA was. I'd never heard the word. I did not know. I'm one of the guys that didn't really know. I didn't study biology at school. I don't know where the prostate was in the body, and I didn't even know its function. 57 years old, and I didn't know this. When I got the call back after going for my blood tests, I got a call from a doctor saying, Jeff, just to let you know, everything's fine, which I don't often do. If it's not fine, they just file it away. They phoned to tell me everything was fine, except there's a little problem. Your PSA is a bit high. And I said, PSA? Or what's PSA? They said, well, the PSA is your prostate-specific antigen. Okay, so what does that mean? They said, that's about your prostate. I said, okay, so what should it be? What's my reading? They said, well, you're on 6.1. I said, okay, that sounds low to me. 100's high to me, and 6.1 sounds low. Turns out that you should be, for my age, below 60 years of age, you should be below 2.5. And I was 6.1. I said, okay, so is that like radically high? No, that's high. You need to now go to see a urologist. They refer you to a urologist and Getting an appointment with the urologist takes about 3 months if it's just a general checkup. But they give you some kind of code that you use, and then all of a sudden you get fast track right to the top of the file. I made the call, and within 2 days, I found myself in the urologist's office in 𝗪𝗲𝗹𝗶𝘆𝘀 Hospital, where they ask you some questions, explain some things to you, and then they do a digital rectal exam. A lot more intense than the doctor's one, I can tell you that much. So this one is a bit more intense, and I can see why maybe some guys don't like it. However, when you have been confronted with a higher PSA, you need to do what you need to do. So I had the test, and he picked up 2 enlarged nodules in the prostate. I was then told I had a couple of options. I can have a biopsy. With a biopsy, they actually go in with a hollow core needles, like drilling cores, and they take, I think it's 36 needles, and they go under the scrotum into the prostate, which the prostate is just below the bladder, and they go in there and they take samples out, which they did. Not a pleasant sort of procedure, but they knock you out. You get general anesthetic. There's no ways you can lie so still when they're doing this procedure. I had that done, but prior to having that done, he said to me, there's a step in between that's non-invasive. You can go for an MRI. MRI scan is almost like doing a X-ray, I guess, and they put you in that machine. So unless you are claustrophobic, go for the MRI, or recommend the MRI, because that gives them a guided look into the prostate, as opposed to going with 36 needles randomly. They can now focus laser pointed onto areas of concern. The one problem with the MRI is it's very expensive. If you're on medical aid, some medical aids will cover it, some don't. So MRI costs you about 15,000 Rand. It takes about 45 minutes. You're in and out there in an hour. Done. Nothing invasive. You lie in the machine and you go out. The results come out in a few days, and the doctor can actually pick up, and in my case, picked up dark areas. So he could see exactly where the growths or anomalies were in the prostate. He then put me in for a prostate biopsy, and went in with a course into those areas and some other areas as well. Okay, then that goes away, gets sent to the pathologist who tests to see if it's positive for cancer. 2-3 days later, I was summoned back to his office, and of course, driving through now to his office is you just know what's coming. So I'm going to tell you, listen, it's all fine, which in my mind was not the case, because they did pick up anomalies, they felt lumps. Your life kind of flashes before you. You are now a cancer patient. You know, other people get cancer. You don't get cancer. You know, it's not your disease. All of a sudden, you're driving through, then you realize, wait a minute, it's me. How bad is this? You know, what's my life expectancy? What's going to happen? What's the procedure? Am I going to go for chemotherapy? All this things. Ironically, Laura was just mentioning that men shave their hair and they grow beards in November. Last November, I shaved my head and I grew a beard in support of people with cancer. My mom included, my dad included. Little did I know that a few months later, I'd be diagnosed myself with cancer. So this is, guys, we all are vulnerable, okay? Vulnerable. It can happen to anybody at any time. And it was my time, it happened to me. Anyways, I drove through, and the doctor, you know, they sensitized to these things. So, you know, sat you down. My wife said, must you come with me? I said, no, don't worry, I'm good. I'll go. I prepared myself mentally for it, and he never sugarcoated. He sat down, opened up the file, and said, okay, Jeff, so yeah, you got cancer. Kind of matter of factly, you know. It kind of like hit home, poof, you know, okay, right. So the next thing was then he explained that he was quite thorough, explaining the options and what can be done. But as he was talking, you know, it's kind of like going in there and coming out there. It's running through your mind, because you are now a cancer patient. He has a file there, and it says oncology. Once you are diagnosed with cancer, you are an oncology patient for life. Okay, regardless whether you survive it or you're cured, or whatever the case may be. I am classified an oncology patient for life. I'm a medical aid. I'm a C61. That's the code they use for someone who's got cancer. And you got to just live with it. And you know, I do. And it frightened me at first, and then I thought about it. I thought, this is my lot in life, and I must make the best of it, and I can use this maybe to help other people, which I did, and I've been going right. So that's basically what happened with me. I decided then the options that were given to me was there was things like, in fact, just before I tell you the options, there's various degrees, and I won't get too detailed there, but there's a thing called the Gleason Score, and they score your cancer out of it's like a 2+3 or 3+3 or 3+4. I came in at a 3+4 equals 7. That is the borderline to before it becomes aggressive. Okay, so 4+4, 8 would be aggressive. That would be cancer that's now leaving the sort of peripherals of the prostate and is now looking to metastasize outside the prostate. So with the 7, I said to the doctor, okay, so you give me all the options. What is your recommendation? He said, well, first of all, the one option is active surveillance, where you actually do nothing. You just go for regular checks and they monitor your PSA, 6.1, 6.3, maybe it comes down. Some people can juice. There's a thing called the Gerson Institute that juices vegetables, which I went on immediately, and actually lowered my PSA from 6.1 to 5.3 in 2 weeks by drinking juiced vegetables, cutting out red meat, cutting out sugar. My diet has changed completely. I juice every day. I eat green vegetables. I rarely eat meat. I eat no pork. Sugar is a legal drug. Okay, absolutely. I don't touch sugar, chocolates, sweets, all those things is out. Alcohol, you're allowed if it's a good quality red wine. By good quality, the sort of my dietitian said it must be so good that you can't afford the second glass. Okay, then you can have a glass of wine. Or good whiskey is okay, but not in excess, just occasional. I cut out beers and sort of spirits and all things I never did anyway. So the diet has changed radically. So some people go that route. Other people will have seeds implanted in the prostate, radiation seeds which release kind of radiation, which kind of it's kind of like chemotherapy but on the fly. The other one is full-blown chemotherapy, radiation, which is about 30 or 40 treatments every single day. Radical side effects. And then probably the most, there's open surgery where they remove the prostate. They call it RP or radical prostatectomy. And then there's one called RALP, R-A-L-P, which is robotic assisted laparoscopic prostatectomy. Okay. Of course, that is sort of the best, so to speak. If you can afford it, that's the one you want to go for. Unfortunately, so few people can. There is only one laparoscopic Da Vinci machine in the public sector in South Africa, or certainly Cape Town. One. With many people wanting to use it. There's a massive need with no funds for it. The machine costs 15 million rand, and there's just no funds in it. The private sector has got 4 in Cape Town. So I'm very fortunate and blessed that I could, have opportunity to get access to the equipment, and I could afford it. And I said, okay, doc, I'm going to go for the RALP, which is the robotic assisted one. So I ended up in the Durban Hospital. Very strange. If you take some time and if you're interested to see it, Google the robotic assisted laparoscopic prostatectomy equipment. The doctor sits about 6 foot away. You're hanging upside down. They make holes in you laparoscopically, and they put a robot inside you. Big arms, looks like a spider, and this thing goes inside, and the doctor can work using his fingers on a computer in a huge screen, 10x sized in 4D. Color, high res. He can actually go in and remove the prostate with a robot inside your body. Quite scary, but it's come a long way. It's been around a while, and they've actually perfected it. So I had that procedure, and that actually took place I had it on the 15th of July, and basically it was completed. It took about 5 hours operation, and the best part about it is the next day you actually are let out of the hospital. So you sort of it's a one overnight stay basically, as opposed to open surgery where you'd actually be in hospital for maybe 5 or 6 days. So it was to me, it was the best way to go. I had it done, and I walked out the hospital the next day. Literally walked out. I showered the next day. I had a catheter. So you have a catheter. Now the side effect of having prostate removal is incontinence. Okay, where you can't retain your urine, and you need to wear diapers in severe cases, and ED, erectile dysfunction. That's the two major sort of setbacks for the radical prostatectomy. If you have the other options, such as irradiation, you don't have those, or very minimized degree that could happen. But other things happen, such as depression, anxiety, and also once you radiate and it comes back, and often sadly it does, you have damaged the organ so much that they can't remove it. So now it's kind of a gamble. Because of my age, because of my fitness level, because of my physique, I'm not overweight. It's difficult, overweight people. Doctor said, you're going to be an easy case. With radical, they can actually, it's called nerve sparing, because the nerves that run, so basically the prostate is just below the bladder, and quite a bad design as far as the human body goes. The human body is amazing, but this one, yeah, the plumbing was not put, it should have been put outside, but the urethra runs through the prostate. So your bladder, the urethra, where your urine passes through the center of the prostate, through the penis and out. Now, a man has got two sphincters. One is at the top of the prostate, at the bottom of the bladder, and the one is the other sphincter. If any men's listening, they understand that when you got the urge to go to the toilet, you can hold back, as can women, but also men have the ability to stop-start. So if they're urinating, they can actually stop-start. That's using the second sphincter. Okay, but the strength of the two sphincters is about a 60-40, more like 70-30. 70% holds back the urine. It's famous with the woman, but the woman's got one sphincter. A man's got two sphincters, and the second one can actually stop-start. So you can actually urinate and stop it, carry on, stop it, carry on, urinate. Yeah, as men know they can do when they're standing at urinal. Now, because you've got the second one, thank God for that, you actually can, with knowledge and with preparation, you can actually strengthen that second one. And that's called the Kegel floor exercises. So the minute I was diagnosed, I consulted with a physiotherapist who said, right, we're starting straight away. If you're going to go for operation, we're starting Kegel floor exercise, which I started immediately. You do them and basically strengthen the second sphincter, because the first one's going to come out. Now, if you take a sphincter out, it's just going to drain. So, and if the second one's not strong enough, typically what happens if someone sneezes or they cough, they leak, like a lot of leakage from dribbling to severe, to flooding. Worst case scenario, shame, some guys they drench their jeans. I mean, their life has just changed. They can't go anywhere. They actually stay home. They become depressed. They wet their bed. The worst things happen. They can't stand in front of a crowd. They urinate. So that's terrible. The best case scenario is where you have trained your sphincter so well, the second one, that you can actually manage it just like the first one. In my case, fortunately, with a great physiotherapist and with 2 months of training doing the Kegel floor exercises, when my catheter was removed 7 days after the operation, some people go up to 2 weeks, and that complicates 7 days. They removed my catheter. Immediately it leaked. That was the last time it ever leaked. I had trained it. I run. I come to work every day. I am perfectly continent, and everything's all fine. No problems. And other things is ED, and fortunately I haven't had that problem either, where other people have serious problems in that situation. So that's the difficulties that people experience. And yeah, so I think maybe it's time for me to wrap up now, because I think Laura's coming back on track here now. Yeah, that basically covers it, guys. And I can just tell you then, in finally, after 8 weeks after having the procedure, you go back for another PSA, and you do it on a regular basis thereafter. And 8 weeks post-op, I went for my PSA reading, and my reading was 0.01, less than 0.01, which is classified as undetectable. So in other words, I am cured, so to speak. I will keep going. I will stay an oncology patient, and I'll keep going forever. And I will keep educating people and keep sharing my story. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Laura for this opportunity to share the story. And I hope someone takes it, shares it with a husband, maybe someone. Please just go and get tested. Just go and get tested at the very, very least. And if you want to reach out to me, I can share I've got a special card with my story with a lot more detail. I can share that with anybody. Contact me, and I'll chat to anybody who wants to have a chat. Thanks, Laura. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. I really, really appreciate you sharing so candidly and openly with us just about the progress or the process that you followed. And I think, really that screening part is so necessary, having those checks and seeing if something is not right. Don't delay, go and get it checked out. I think you were then willing to make the necessary changes, like you said, the lifestyle changes that you needed to make, the dietary changes you needed to make. And yeah, we just trust that you are going to be cancer-free and that on your journey, that this is not for nothing, that this will impact other people and get somebody else just to think something's not right, or let me just go and get my checks. 20 years ago, my dad went to go for his annual checkup, and the doctor had him on the treadmill and said, something doesn't seem right, sent him for an angiogram. And the next day, my dad had a 4-way bypass. And my dad is 83 now. He wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that checkup, if he hadn't gone, because it was literally a piece of plaque that would have gone loose, and they wouldn't have had time to even resuscitate him. So I think having these checks is very necessary. And yeah, following on from that, going and having those blood tests when the doctor says so. So I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for everyone for listening in and for watching through this. I'd like to invite you to join my free private online community, where I'll be sharing some more information on this topic as well. And I'm also going to be sharing information about one product that every man over the age of 30 needs to be on, relating specifically to prostate health. So drop me a message if you'd like to join my community, and I'll send you the link to join. And I hope you've enjoyed what we've shared today. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next week for another episode of Wellness Wednesdays with Laura.